Hey everyone, and welcome to the weekly review. So let's get started by looking at the market and how it ended the week here. So if we look at the ES futures here, we can see that this week was pretty red. We came off of those all-time highs, thought that we were going to get the bounce off this 21 to maybe keep going to the upside, but today we did flush below it. So this is our first candle now below that 21, but if we look at our previous pullbacks, we can see that this -1 ATR has been holding a place of support when we do have these pullbacks. So potentially next week we could see a bounce off this level. Doesn't mean that it has to happen, but if we look at previous pullbacks, that is what it is showing us. So definitely something to be watching out for coming in to next week. Looking at the Qs here, this one, its structure is actually still very solid. It's been holding up quite well. Still are closing above that 21 EMA, so no reason to be worried or bearish yet on the Qs or tech themselves. They still are in a very nice uptrend and are holding structure. Dow, on the other hand, is not doing so well. So we had this daily squeeze. It is now firing to the downside. We're getting near that -2 ATR, so this could be a potential place for it to bounce as well. We can see in this prior pullback, it bounced off those levels, and then even here, we almost got down to that -2, and it bounced. So definitely one to watch in the next week to see if it can bounce off those levels and if the market can kind of rebound, or if we just keep seeing more selling. The Russell here, just kind of like the ES, had its first close below that 21 Thursday. I thought that it was going to hold this level and then have that bounce to the upside, but unfortunately it did not, and it is closing below the 21. So next week will be also very telling on this one as well. And I think as a whole, next week will be very telling to see if the buyers come in or if the sellers take control and we do see a larger pullback in the market. Because if we look at the ES here and we put on a weekly time frame, we can see that all this week was doing was reverting back to the 8 EMA. And the 8 EMA has been holding now for I don't know how many months is this now where it's just been trading above that. So there's always the potential where we do get a pullback eventually sometime to this 21 EMA. Not saying that it has to be now, but we could definitely see more selling potentially to this level, or we could bounce off this 8 EMA as we have in the previous months. So now looking at some individual sectors and how they fared throughout this week, we will start off with materials. Kind of like the rest of the market, it's not looking as good anymore with its structure. Now having 3 closes below that 21 EMA, and the squeeze is looking to fire to the downside, so this one is looking weaker. XLC, this one is still doing just fine. Came off of those +3 ATR levels, just reverting back down to the mean, and it's holding that as of now, so nothing wrong with the communication sector as of now. Energy has been pretty bullish here the last few months. We've had this nice downtrend into a consolidation period where it will be looking to either go back up to these levels or continue to fall to the downside, but it is closing below that 21 EMA, so no reason to look long on this sector as of yet. Financial is kind of the same picture here. We're getting these few closes below, having this daily low compression squeeze look to be firing to the downside, so definitely could see a little more fall with this one, but next week will be more telling. XLI, exact same thing, low compression squeeze, looks to be firing to the downside as well. XLK, closing a little bit below the 21 EMA here, so I'd say wait for next week to see if you can get 2 closes below, or if it closes right back above that 21 EMA. I still like its structure. We have our stacked EMA, so hopefully it can reclaim that level going into next week. XLP, same as a lot of the other sectors. Looks like we're going to have this daily squeeze firing to the downside, but luckily in this one we do still have stacked EMAs, so I would not short that one as of yet, because you never want to short something that has stacked EMAs, because that is very bullish. Now going to the real estate sector, once again, you had that strong push up into +3, Here it reverts back to that 21 EMA where you're looking for it to see if it can bounce or if it rejects that level. Here it rejected that level, so could definitely see it fall some more or back to this support region in here, and then it could chop around at that level. So utilities, kind of the same story, closing below that 21, daily squeeze looking to fire to the downside. So we'll see once again how next week plays out for the rest of these sectors. Just as I said before, exact same thing, squeeze looking to fire to the downside. We'll see next week. And then XLY. So this one, and what was the other one? XLC, I believe. Yeah, so XLY and XLC are the only ones that actually have still bullish structures that are trading above the 21 EMA. Yes, it had a pullback today, but it's trading well above that, so there's no reason to be looking short on this stock as of yet. So that's the market overview going into next week. Let's look at the trades that we actually have in the group going on right now to see how they're faring throughout this kind of down week. So the first one being AMD. So AMD had a nice solid structure here where we were gaining that bullish momentum. It looks solid, and then of course when the market rolls over, a lot of stocks start to roll over as well, and that's kind of what we got here. So we're getting these few closes below that 21 EMA. The reason I still do like AMD though is because of the semiconductor sector itself. This is still very, very strong here, trading well above that 21 EMA. So that's the only reason why I still like AMD to the long side, is just because its sector is so strong right now. So the next one that we are in is Roblox. And this one's been having these last 2 days, having great days. We have our daily squeeze here. We're gaining our bullish momentum. We're having our nice closes above that 21, and it's pushing to the upside here. So hopefully within this channel it comes and touches this upside resistance line here. That's where we can take our profits. The next one we're looking at here is DHI. So this one, after we entered it, has basically just went straight down to that -2 ATR region. And the reason I'm still in this one is just due to the fact that the move to the downside happened so fast, and our contracts are for about still a month out. And the reason I still do like it, if we look at its sector, so ITB, and then we come to a weekly time frame, we can still see that this weekly time frame is holding that 21 EMA. We do have a weekly squeeze. Yes, we have a red bar, but the fact that it is holding that 21 EMA as of this week, I do like to see this one, and hopefully it will bounce off that level to the upside and drag DHI along with it. So that's the reason that we are still in that trade. The next one that we have entered this week was Snap, and its structure is still looking very, very good here. We have our daily squeeze getting our first day of price, the histogram above 0 here as our squeeze is looking. We're still trading above that 21 EMA. It's been consolidating here, and I think that next week we'll get that nice push to the upside through this channel, and hopefully get to touch that upper line of the channel. So this one's still very solid for the team. The one we entered today was GPRE. So if we look at its structure here, great looking daily squeeze, almost with the histogram above 0. Price was, when we got in, was right at that 21 EMA. We have our stacked EMA, so everything about this one is looking good to the long side. As long as the market doesn't decide to keep rolling over, I think all of these trades are still very viable and can work out very well for our team. So this is the weekly review. Hopefully it all helps you get a better picture of where the markets could potentially go next week and what you should be looking out for in the weeks coming ahead. Have a great weekend, everyone.